for another Tech Talk Tuesday. I'm excited for another weekday forum because what we do here is we take these topics, we dive deep into them, and then we think about how to apply everything to our lives every day. And when it comes to technology, what I'm going to talk about today, very specifically, is how we can unlock healthier tech habits for ourselves. And we can do that by looking at technology from the standpoint of, is it working for us in terms of our mental health and our physical health? So I want to talk about a couple of studies that I looked at over the last couple of weeks. And one of the studies really had to do with the mental health impact and talked about how addiction and overuse of technology contributes significantly to anxiety and depression. Now, some of the research and some of the things that I've seen have talked about anxiety and depression being anywhere from 50 million Americans to 150 million Americans. So that means anywhere from 1 out of 5 to 1 out of 2 Americans have anxiety, depression, or some other type of mental health disorder. And we absolutely know that technology is one of those contributing factors to our health in a negative way. Now, some of the things that they talk about, right, are the mental health impact, right? So, how, there's addiction and overuse. That's number one. The other is the cognitive impact, right? So, how the longer you spend on screens, it impacts your ability to learn, it impacts your memory, it impacts your comprehension, and it impacts your productivity. Now, impacts your productivity for a lot of reasons, right? And one of the reasons that it impacts your productivity is because when you are on the internet, especially if you are on social media, you are getting those hits of dopamine and those different hits of hormones that are making you stay on longer and longer and longer and longer, whether you want to stay on longer and longer or whether you don't want to stay on longer and longer. And so the idea, right, is to maintain this conscious awareness that you know that there's a mental health impact, and secondarily that you know that there's a cognitive impact. Now, number three is physical health concerns. We know that there are physical health concerns with overuse of the computer, overuse of technology, everything from back, neck, head, and joint pain in the arms and the wrists, right? But other things that we might not think about all the time, such as eye strain or blue light exposure. So what we want to do, right, is we want to really get to a point where we become conscious consumers of technology. And I've talked about this before, but today I want to talk very specifically about how to be a conscious consumer. How to be a conscious consumer. And I want to just say, first and foremost, that is very hard. It's very hard to be a conscious consumer of technology. And the reason that it's hard to be a conscious consumer of technology is because it's not set up for us to be conscious. Our society is not set up for us to be conscious. Our society is set up for us to be unconscious. Our society is set up for us to be lulled asleep. Our society is set up for us to be distracted, right? And when we are distracted, we're not paying attention to things like, how long have I been on the computer? Because if my dopamine hit is going, and let's say my belly is full and I have a warm place to sleep at night, maybe I'm not as concerned. And so I can spend some extra time leisurely on the computer and not really be conscious about it, right? Now, let's say it's like back in the day where we had these internet plans where you only could be on for a certain time. Okay, that might help you be a little more of a conscious consumer. However, right, if you're getting a dopamine hit, or if you're even, like I was on social media trying to build business, trying to meet people, trying to grow a community, it still is distractive and it still takes time. It still takes time. So I bet you that most of those studies did not include people with disabilities. And you want to know something interesting? When I was still in corporate America, I had two colleagues that were disabled, and when COVID happened, it it was another level. And the company that I was working for at the time didn't care, and it was messed up. It was messed up. I tried to like set up a thing so that people in the area could help my two colleagues out, and everybody was making excuses about why they couldn't help, and it was pretty messed up. And the reason they want us disassociated from reality is so we don't address the problem, and that's exactly right. And the thing that I am learning more and more and more and more and more each day is that we ourselves, the problem starts with us addressing ourselves, right? And nobody wants us to do that because if we were to address ourselves, guess what? We can change ourselves. But when we're looking outside and we're looking at everybody and we're looking at everything, nothing can ever get fixed. Nothing can ever get fixed until we can look at ourselves. And that's where I am in this moment, whether I'm talking about very specifically about looking at my technology use, or whether I'm talking about just my overall personal growth and trajectory and how I'm thinking about that. So when I think about like these different studies, it's so interesting. I'm putting together a community study, and I'm basically going to offer it for communities in, it's for basically rural communities in Washington, Oregon, and California. And basically, I'm putting together this study to ask people in the community, what are the skills that you want to learn? Whether it's around advocacy for yourself or for your family or for your community, is it around leadership, like really knowing how to step into your role as a leader and be confident, have clarity, and also build up your credibility and at the same time, collaborate and be creative? Or is it really about you want to develop personal skills, personal growth, personal evolutionary empowerment tools, right? For yourself. And so I put together this study, and I basically did the study for my community, right, which is a rural community. And I asked some different questions on there. And one question I didn't ask, but I'm going to ask, and I would love to consult with you, Lindsay, on how to phrase the question in the right way without seeming like I'm being HIPAA-ish, HIPAA violating, but is to talk to people because I did say, like, do you need special accommodations? I did say, what other language, what language other than English would be helpful for you to have this material? And I asked some questions like that, but I didn't ask specific questions about disability. And we know that people who are part of the disability community are not counted in surveys and studies, just like we know Black people don't get counted in surveys and studies, and just like people who are immigrants often, especially if English is their second language, they don't get counted in studies. And so it's really important that we keep think about that like all the time. Oh, that'll be perfect. But like that's so important. And that's the other thing too, that when it comes to accessibility, when it comes to websites, when it comes to hardware, like your actual device in your phone, it's so important to even understand how those tools can help you and how they can harm you at the same time, right? Like I don't use Siri, even though I use voice dictation. Well, guess what? It's only one microphone on the damn thing, and it doesn't matter whether it's going up through Siri or whether it's going up through whatever. Everything we say on these phones, they got it, and we know what it is, right? So that's fine. And knowing that there are some capabilities and functions and ways to utilize the technology so that we can make the most of it, that's the game changer right there, right? That's the game changer right there. So that's the thing that really sets the work apart when you are looking at how do I think about my life and doing things that I need to do, doing things that I want to do. How do I think about augmenting what I'm doing with technology? So if I know that technology has an adverse um, impact on my mental health, what can I do actively to avoid those things that could have a negative impact on my mental health? So, I read, or maybe I didn't read it. I think I saw on a YouTube video yesterday that when you are what they call like going no contact, or when you are like leaving a relationship, it's that in addition to blocking the person from everything, your phone, your social media, and everything, you should also block you from them. So if you have videos of them or things of them that remind you of them or pictures of them or whatever, you should delete the stuff and get rid of it. And I thought that was very good um, information because it's going to do two things. Number one, it's going to help with your, your processing, right, of the trauma or of the loss or of the emotion or of the grief or whatever it is, right? Number two, it's going to free up space on your phone. So when you start going through your phone and you start deleting the messages and you start deleting the videos and you start deleting the pictures and you start deleting deleting all the things, you free up space on your phone. Now you're able to use your phone more efficiently and better, right? Because now you get some memory back, okay? And maybe you get so much back that Apple stops sending you the thing telling you, hey, why don't you upgrade your storage because you run out of storage, right? Okay. So so um becoming conscious, right? In addition to being able to say, I am in control of my technology, I'm going to be the person who decides what is this going to look like. I'm going to be the person that's going to decide how I'm going to utilize technology. Think about it from a cognitive standpoint. They already have been, poisoning us for years in America, right? Our food, our water, the air, chemicals that we put on our bodies, chemicals we put in our hair, and they've been doing it to the point where we all used to it, right? Where we have so much cancer in our country, and in other countries they don't even have it. Countries that are so-called poor countries, they don't have all this cancer. They don't have all these kids dying. They don't have all these shootings. Whatever. I digress. I digress. Technology um, can be so harmful and helpful at the same time that it's up to us to keep that in mind. So if we know that we want to use technology for something that's important, like research, right? So the study that I was getting ready to tell y'all about, or that I was talking about, that said, for your own mental health, you should block the person and this and that, right? If it wasn't for technology and me doing some research on narcissism and some other things, I wouldn't have known that, right? And then I wouldn't be able to share that via not only this technology avenue, but any other ways that I may use this, right? So I might use it for the podcast, I might use it for a YouTube video or whatever. But to be able to utilize technology for good, to give good information, right? That information was by a licensed clinical psychologist that's been working with people in the narcissism field for like 25 years, like literally counseling, coaching, and therapizing people who are in narcissistic abuse relationships. And if it was not for technology, again, the access to certain information would be limited. So, when I think about the way I had talked a few times before about how, as a kid, I started doing research on psychology very early in life. And I started this research early because I grew up in a very violent and abusive home. And my mom, now I know, was um, that I was in a home of narcissistic abuse. And it was my mother, it was my stepfather, it was my grandfather, it was three of my mom's sisters, it was one of my cousins. Like I was surrounded by a bunch of them, and now everything makes sense. But when I started researching mental health and psychology and child abuse and those things in the late 70s and early 80s, nobody was using the term narcissistic abuse and narcissism. In the 90s and then in the early 2020s, I started doing some more research around narcissism and white supremacy and patriarchy and those things, but I didn't all tie it together to family systems and individual behavior. Well, again, if it wasn't for the internet, I would not have do that because I wouldn't have been able to comb through as much information in a short period of time. However, when you have, all of these back end, algorithms and search engines doing all this stuff, is much easier to uncover and find information. So, in that sense, right, sometimes we might go down a rabbit hole of information where we're just looking and looking and looking for information. Okay, that makes sense. That is more, a more productive use of technology. However, if we're just scrolling, as people say, doom scrolling, you know, I haven't scrolled in a while, but scrolled, right? Um, why are we scrolling? Are we scrolling mindfully? That's the question to ask. The question is, are we scrolling mindfully, right? And if we are not scrolling mindfully, why not? What are we looking for? Are we looking for recipes? Then look for 3 or 4 recipes, see what's common, and then just go with it. Pick one, right? Sometimes I have to look at 15 recipes for the same cashew cheese sauce. Why? I've been making it now for 3 years. I don't have to look at that many recipes. I'm distracting myself, right? Just for whatever reason, right? However, that's not a bad thing sometimes, but it's not a permanent way to manage stress. It's not a permanent way to process emotion. It's not a permanent way to do anything. It is a temporary solution. Okay. So when it comes to really looking at examining what is the impact, right? So if you are doing some excessive scrolling, then the question to ask yourself is, what is it that you're potentially avoiding? And are you setting yourself up for a deeper mental health impact? So, for example, a lot of people grow up with, I forget what you call it, but that thing where you're always comparing yourself, maybe just call self comparison, where you're always comparing yourself to other people, or maybe somebody was always comparing you to other people, and you maybe don't like yourself. Maybe you have a poor body image or low self esteem or something like that. Well, getting on the internet is just going to make it worse. All the studies that they have done over the last 20 years, they have said, yes, the social media is bad for our self esteem. Yet we stay on there. Now they have all these little screen time alerts or whatever. Because I used to have some of them on my phone, and my thing is funny. One day it'll say you spend an average of 57 minutes online, and then the next time it'll say you spend an average of 7 minutes online, and then next time it'll say you spend an average of 2 hours online and 57 minutes or whatever. I don't know. Sometimes I might have my phone on, and I don't know. It, I don't know. Um, I can't imagine I'd be on it for 3 straight hours, but I guess if I'm inside the app and I am working on a document or something like that, then maybe. But I probably spend more time on the larger screen, the Mac screen, than I do on the phone. But either way, right? My phone and other technology can tell me things about my own usage. So then I get the opportunity to examine that. I get the opportunity to say, okay, so if I've been on the phone this much screen time here, and I've been this much time on social media, this much time in notes, this much time in voice memos. Okay, well, if I only been in social media for 10 minutes, but I've been in my notes section for maybe 2 hours, then what am I writing and processing? That's something that's good. That's then again a good use of that technology and a use that is taking us, more towards what we want to do, as opposed to a use where you don't remember what you was doing. You was on the computer for 2 hours. Next thing you know, you burnt some food that was in the oven and you didn't take your nap and the dog, didn't make it to the bathroom or whatever. I don't know, right? You have all of these things because you ended up being distracted. So I want to offer the opportunity to think about how you utilize technology in a way that's going to benefit you and also in a way that's going to be efficient. So one of the things that I learned the last couple of days is, again, they just got us with a whole bunch of smoke and mirrors. And for all the things that people think they need to run a business, to have a business, to start a business, other than your local licenses, right, for your state, your county, the government, um, and your accountant can help you with that. But other than that stuff, right? When it comes to technology and tools, I'm telling you, I use basically three things. I use my app, Radical Change. I use Canva because I have been using Canva now for 3 solid years, and I'm pretty strong at it. So I'm able to create things in Canva, and use those things for different purposes. And then the other thing is a stand store, as an actual store where I sell my products and services. And really, I could get by on those three things. Now, I recently launched a podcast, and it's going to be one of about three different series that I have going on. And I was able to do that relatively quickly by literally going to one place and uploading an audio file, a thumbnail, picture, a cover screen, and then the text. And it was one of the most simplest processes. Meanwhile, there's all these companies out here that's going to charge you thousands and thousands of dollars to do these little things where you could learn how to do these things yourself. And then you could either start your own side hustle, your own little, little business, or just know how to do it for yourself. If you're planning a party, if you're planning a trip, if you are planning a gift for someone, if you are, it's nice to have these little things under your belt. The stand store, you really only need that if you're going to sell something or you want to be an affiliate for somebody. Let's say you said, hey Vonda, I love you and I believe in your products, and I'll put your stuff on my store. That will be a perfect opportunity, and then you will get 5 or 10 or 15% of the sales. But the idea is that the more time you have when you're not distracted, the more you can learn how to make technology work for you. I have been so distracted over the past 4 years. From the time that I started my business, right, in July of 2020, um, I have been so tired and so distracted. Number one, never got a chance to really like exit from from corporate America and retire and like really do a thing. Like I didn't have a party. I didn't, you know, I just like was like, okay, well now I'm done, but I got to get my business up and running, and I never rested. And it really began to take a toll on me in 2023, and this year I finally can breathe. I know exactly what I'm doing. I have a very, very clear focus, and I'm excited to support anybody who wants to move forward in your own journey. Whether that journey is just personal growth and development, and we could talk about your use of technology as part of that. We can talk about any addictions that you have, whether it's to technology or other things. We could talk about your physical, your cognitive, and mental health concerns in terms of the things that you have in your control, but maybe you need some support with the mindset work. Maybe you need some support with the self-talk work, right? Um, but the other part is really getting to a point where as you move along in your personal development, that those things that you can control, you're controlling them, that nobody is controlling you, including Siri or Tim Apple or none of them other people. Nobody is controlling you, that you're controlling you. And that means that you are also controlling the technology. That means you're also in charge of how you decide you're going to utilize technology today and every day. So that's the main thing, right? Is to really have that conscious awareness around you choosing how you're going to use technology every day, how you're going to incorporate those practices that are going to support your mental health. You're going to incorporate practices that do not um, make your cognitive impact worse, right? Support those practices that don't make your physical health worse. Support things that don't contribute to anxiety and depression. Stay off the internet. I feel so much better now that I'm not on the internet. And I just learned yesterday also that even though, yeah, making face to face YouTube videos is a good thing, I don't have to make face to face videos, YouTube videos, because my podcast will automatically get turned into a YouTube video. So this is what they talk about when they talk about having like these faceless YouTube accounts and all this kind of stuff. You could literally make faceless accounts, um, and not have the stress of having to be on camera, because that could be a lot, right? You feel like you gotta look cute, you feel like you have to be, super wide awake, you have to have some kind of decent lighting, or be outside, or have to have a backdrop, or your house has to be clean, or your house has to be quiet with no dogs barking, no kids running around, no teenagers or kids, washing laundry, whatever, right? And sometimes we feel like we have to do so much because society tells us we have to do this and we have to do that and we have to do this. Well, one of the reasons that I'm all about learning, one of the reasons that what this group is a leadership learning collective, is because I believe that learning is the most critical skill, combined with thought, critical thinking, that we can have. Critical learning and critical thinking is important, and that's what Leaders Learn Radical Change is all about. And so, for me, right, learning these things about technology, and being able to share them with you is very important. And what I want is for you to be able to take what you learn and apply them to your own life. You don't have to worry so much about telling other people. You don't have to worry about so much about getting other people on board. It's about adopting for yourself, an approach that's going to make your life better. So if you are struggling with any physical problems at all, less time on the computer, less time on the phone is going to be a game changer. That's number one, because you will move more or you will sleep more. Less time on the phone, less time on the computer means you will move more or you're going to sleep more. So for the last 2 days, I've been working on my website. Well, actually, well, I've been working on my website for the last 3 weeks, trying to figure out if I was going to update my current website, or if I was going to create a new website from scratch. And today, I kind of did a combination of it, but I got it together. I made a new website, and I spent probably from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., so 4 hours nonstop. In that 4 hours, I did not stand up. In that 4 hours, my dog came in the room and I didn't even know she was there for the first two of it. That was a bad, or not good physical, whatever. And if I wasn't using the computer, I would have spent that time either sleeping or moving, right? Or doing something. I would have been spending that time cooking or cleaning the kitchen, or I would have spent that time doing something, right? But I spent that time like this. Now, I got something done that I'm super proud of. So go to radicalchangellc.my.canva.site and check out the new website. And also, when you go there, it will show you some links so that you can check out the podcast. So you could just go to rss.com, at Radical Change Leadership, and you will be able to see the first podcast there, and some of the subsequent podcasts. Leaders Learn Radical Change, Very Vonda, um, and some others are going to be popping up soon, because, like I said, I figured out the technology. It is way simpler than it needed to be. And now that I have everything up, all of the structure, I'm just hitting it and running. And if you need help and you say, hey, you know what? I've been wanting to do a podcast. Can I help you? Yes. Um, Hit me up and I can help you. If you say, hey, I've been wanting to build a community and I just don't know how to get started, hit me up. I know how to do it. I know how to do it from scratch. I know how to do it if you already have some people, whatever it is. But think through utilizing technology for you and you alone. Think through utilizing technology from the standpoint of how is it going to support your goals, your dreams, and your mission. And then if you decide that, you know what? I want to use technology a little bit better. I want to do things in a different way. And you find that you have some challenges. I want you to set out for yourself to get some desire for that change. So if you decide, I want to make some changes to how I utilize technology, I want to make some changes to how I engage with technology, I want to make some changes in how I engage with human beings, period, or however, let me support you with that. But I want you to recognize and know that that's going to take you wanting to do that at the deepest level for yourself. Because at the root of all change, at the root of radical change, is desire. So that means that what you want to do has to be more important than anything else. It has to be more important than what you think you can do. It has to be more important than what you've done before. And it has to be what you are convinced and confident and convicted and committed to being able to do. It has to be what you are courageous enough to do. It has to be what you are competent enough to do, right? It has to be what you are capable of doing. And having a culture and a coalition that is in support of that work is going to make it even better. And if you know what I'm talking about, that's all about how you manage radical change. You put all those things together and you get that shift in mindset. You get that shift in your self talk or your message. You get that shift in your mood or how you're feeling. And you get that shift in your actual actions and behaviors or your movement. And that's how you make things happen. So when you get to the point and you say, well, yeah, I want technology to work for me and I don't want technology to be dragging me around by the neck. It's already bad enough that they are monitoring everything that we say and do every second of every day. But I really want to be able to own the experience that I have. I want to own my digital footprint. I want to own my own security. And I want to own how I interact with the rest of the world when it comes to technology. You get the opportunity to do that. You get to unlock healthier tech habits. You get to do that. I put a guide together and I want to update it with the new fancy branding. And so I'm going to be doing that over the next couple of weeks. But I'm putting a guide together for how to unlock healthier technology habits, and I'm going to make that available for y'all, and you'll be able to get that from my stand store. Or if you are part of the Leadership Learning Collective, you will be able to get that from inside of the app library. So, as for today, what I want y'all to do is number one, I want you to stay informed about all the stuff that's going on. Pretty much, we always got Tech Tuesday, we got Workplace Wise on Wednesday, and on Thursdays, we have Thought Works. The next symposium is all about power over procrastination, and that is September 19th through the 21st, starting at 4:30 p.m. And it is going to be at a local library in Washington County. So I'm trying to figure out which one, maybe at what I like to call Old Faithful, mine or another one. But I want to invite those of you who are in the Washington County area to join the symposium live. And I will get you some more information about that. So, thanks again for joining another Tech Talk Tuesday, and I appreciate y'all. Go and check out the new website, which is radicalchangellc.my.canva.site. Check out the stand store / Radical Change LLC. Check out the YouTube channel at Radical Change LLC. Anything sounds a little familiar, coincidental, a little on brand? Well, it's all about radical change. It's all about result certainty, and it's all about that radical change leadership and applying those skills that are going to take your learning to the next level. So, thank you so much for hanging out, and I look forward to talking with y'all soon.